Last time we saw how to use the developer tools of the browser to inspect a page and edit its contents. Now let's understand a little bit more of how that works. So web pages are made up of three elements: HTML, which defines the structure, CSS, which defines the style, and JavaScript, which defines the behavior. Some pages might only have HTML and CSS, but even if you use a modern framework like React, Vue, Svelte, or some other one, knowing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript can take you a long way. So let's see a hands-on example of how this works. If I now go to a new tab in Chrome and left-click anywhere and use the Inspect option to open the developer tools, I'll see that the contents of the page are here, and this is HTML. If you scroll to the top, you'll see that it says HTML here, and right-click on this element and use Edit as HTML. And now you can select the whole thing, delete it, and click outside of it. You'll see that the browser reset it for us, and now we have the simplest HTML document possible. Each of these things is called a tag. So we have an HTML tag, and inside of it we have two children, the head and the body. You see that we have an opening tag and a closing tag. So here's an example of a folder structure that you are familiar with on the left. As you can see, we have a root folder here, and then we have some documents and some images and a README file. And inside of these folders, we have more files. And this is analogous to an HTML file where we have the HTML element and the opening and closing tag. And inside of it, we can have a head and a body. And then inside of that, we have these divs. And you can see that this mimics the structure on the left. So we have a README here, and images and documents. This is how the HTML elements work. This is an element tag, which you place between these two symbols. So here you can have an A, for example. And then you need the closing tag, which is the same thing that goes inside of here, but using this symbol. Then optionally, you can have attributes, which are key value pairs. So you can have an attribute name, the equal sign, and the value here, and another attribute. And inside of all these, you can have the content, which can be another tree structure of more HTML elements. So let's go back to our page and add something to the body. If we edit it as HTML, that is important because otherwise you'll just be editing it as text. We can say something like hello here. And now, if we click outside of it, we see that we have the hello text on the page. But the idea of using HTML is that we can describe the structure of this document. So let's wrap this hello between an h1 tag, and this is for header, and the one is to indicate that it is the biggest level. So we can say this hello between these h1 tags, and now click outside of it, and you'll see that this made the text bigger. So now we can edit this as HTML once again and add an h2, which would be a subheading or a subtitle. So we can say subtitle, and you'll see that this one is smaller. We can edit it as HTML again and add a P for paragraph, and we can say this is my first HTML page. You'll see that this is now looking as text. We can go further and do something with the inner elements. So we can say that the HTML part is code, and this will format it as code. And then we can say, for example, that we want the page to be strong, and this is just saying that it will look like bold text. If we now apply these changes, you'll see that this now looks different. So this is HTML in a nutshell. There are, of course, a lot of attributes and a lot of things to see, but I just want to show you how it describes the structure of a page without caring about how it looks or how it will behave. So now we can go to the head, edit this as HTML, and here we can add some metadata, like the title and we can say first page. And now if I apply it, you'll see that here on the top, now this changed to first page. We can go further and add some CSS to our page. Edit this as HTML, and now we can add a style tag. Whatever we put inside of this style tag will be CSS code. Don't worry too much about the syntax. I'm going to say that an H1, and between the curly braces, I'm going to apply styles to it. In this case, I'm going to say that the color will be red. So now if we commit this, you'll see that the color of the title changed to red. And now we can edit this again, and we can add another one. For example, H2, and we can say color blue. And as you see, now the subtitle is blue. So the idea of CSS is that we can alter how the page looks without altering its structure. So we are separating the concerns of the structure and the looks of the page. Finally, we have JavaScript, which cares about the behavior of the page. So we can go to the console, and here we can type JavaScript code. Again, don't worry about the syntax, we'll learn more about JavaScript in further videos. This is just for an illustration for you to understand the big picture of these three tools. So now we can write some code. In this case, I'm going to write document, which is the whole page, and you can see that now the whole page is selected in blue, dot, and now we can add a query selector. And this is basically going to select all the elements that match some parameter. And now I'm going to say H1 in quotes. And this, you'll see that now highlights the hello title. And we can do dot. Now we can access elements of the title. So let's access the text content. And we see that we get hello here. And we can use equals and set it to goodbye. Now, if I commit this, now you see that the page changed without us going and editing the HTML ourselves. We use JavaScript to do that. JavaScript will allow you to dynamically make changes to the page as we just did. So this very simple example shows us how HTML, CSS, and JavaScript interplay together to make pages come alive. In future videos, we'll dive deeper into these three technologies and understand a lot more about them. So stay tuned for future videos.